Welcome to Charter California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We have two special guests today. We have Gil Stork. He is the president of Cuesta College. He brings with him Shannon Hill. She is the executive director of advancement and the foundation for Cuesta College. And Shannon Hill, I want you to go back to just a regular old day in April. You were minding your own business, and the phone rang.
The phone rang, and on the other end of the line was Jim Marzon, a local attorney, and he was the trustee of an estate, a very large estate that we knew nothing about.
You knew nothing about this estate.
Nothing about it. It was
zero.
Complete surprise.
There were two people, Charles and Letty Dovica. Did I say that right?
Dovica. Charles and Lita Dovica.
Never heard their names before.
Never heard their names before. No, we knew nothing about this. We knew that Jim was a great supporter of
the attorney. Yes,
of Cuesta. He has helped us in the past with some estate planning, and so he called and he said, "Shan, I'm calling to let you know that we've just realized an estate." And I said, "Oh, that sounds great.
How nice.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much."
And how big is this estate?
Well, I didn't ask that question. I said, "What about the documents?" And he said, "Well, let me tell you about how big it is." He wanted to make sure that I knew, and he said that you're getting 2/3 of this estate, and the estate itself is $13 million. And after picking up my jaw off the floor, I said, "That's wonderful," and talked with him a little bit longer and got his information and details and hung up the phone and ran over to Dr. Stork's office.
President Stork, tell us about that moment. And tell us exactly what Shannon said. It's touching.
Well, let me set it up a little bit.
Please.
So, when Shannon joined us at Cuesta College about 2 years ago as our executive director, I talked to her about a program that I had seen at another college where they would provide the opportunity for local high school graduates to come to the college with their fees paid for a period of time. And I said, what a wonderful thing to be able to do for our county residents, you know. All we needed was money.
I know Long Beach, for example, has a Long Beach Promise.
Right.
You were looking for the Cuesta Promise.
Right, exactly. And so then Shannon walked into the door and she said, "I think we can deliver the promise," you know.
What promise?
And I said,
"What promise?"
What? I said, "What are you talking about?" You know. Says, "Remember the promise you talked to me about?" Said, "I think we can deliver it." And I said, "Well, how?" And then she told me the story of this conversation with Jim Marzon. So.
And it is just so touching to think that Charles and Lita did not go to Cuesta, had no specific connection to Cuesta, but yet somehow they were compelled to give 2/3 of their significant estate to really a crown jewel in this community that, by the way, has had a tough few years. It's bounced back, but I mean, it couldn't come at a better time.
All right, absolutely. They they were immigrants from Hungary and from England who came to the United States and settled in the Central Coast.
Right.
And he had a business, and then he went into real estate and developed his fortune through buying and selling real estate, and valued education, thought this is a way of the future. And I think with some nudging from our attorney friend,
but positive, some suggestions.
That they were looking for something to do. They didn't have an extended family, so what are they going to do with their fortune? And education is always a great investment, you know. And so here was a perfect opportunity to match what we do best, and that's give people a chance.
And this has now doubled the scholarship fund for Cuesta College. You're going to be taking the interest off of the $8.3 million and using that to provide the promise, which I'll want to talk about when we get back, so don't give it away yet. You recently had a press conference announcing the promise. I can only imagine how that felt. So when we come back, I want to hear more about how San Luis residents can apply to be part of the promise. For our viewers on HLN, thank you so much for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back on Charter California Edition. So President Stork, give me a sense of how it was for you when you called the press conference. And there you were. I'm Shannon, you were there as well. So what was that like to announce to the press corps?
Well, it was actually a relief, because I've been wanting to divulge this for a long time, and Shannon kept advising me about you were saying a little bit too much in public, you know, but it was hard not to. But I had worked with our local county superintendents of schools to let them know what we were doing, and looking for their support, and of course they were overwhelmingly supporting of this. And so we finally, when we were ready internally in terms of the operational side, to really roll this out. We wanted to do it prior to the time that we start making that rollout with the high schools and our recruitment and our outreach.
Right, because Shannon, the promise starts in fall of 2014.
It starts in fall of 14.
And what exactly is it? Tell us exactly what you're offering.
Well, what we're offering is the first semester fee-free, and that's going to, I mean, we're using the over $300,000 a year that the endowment will generate every year to support the incoming graduates from San Luis Obispo high schools or GED or homeschool equivalents.
Anyone in San Luis County, any high school graduate, any GED recipient,
or homeschooler,
right? However they get to Cuesta, if they are admitted to Cuesta, their first semester, no charge.
Correct.
And this first rollout will be the recent ones. Anybody who's finished in 2013-14.
Because of
Yeah. So hopefully down the road, depending upon how the economics work, we might want to consider first-time college attendees who meet that criteria, but let's say didn't start college right away, went to work,
veterans,
went in the service, etc. Served a mission for their church, whatever.
And give me a sense of how the timing of this couldn't be any better, because it really is a new day for Cuesta on so many levels. I mean, I know how hard you all have been working with the accreditation scenario. It is behind us, which is great news. We have other institutions that are facing it. We won't even go there. Thank you very much. But do talk about how it's a new day, not just because accreditation is behind us, but because state budget's in better shape. Give us a sense, please.
Well, it's what we've dealt with over the last 4 years is really the kind of the dismantling a lot of the important things that we've done over the years in terms of having to do program reductions and staff layoffs and furloughs and so on. So it's an opportunity to reassure the public that we're on our way back and that we are reaching out to our county residents to say, this is your college, and we want to make sure that we have a future for you. So we're not only speaking to today's graduates, but we're talking about families with school-age children that are thinking about how are we going to pay for college education, and this gives them another option to put in their
It's so interesting you say that, because when I was going to college in the 20th century, you didn't go to community college unless there was a problem. I mean, now, highly educated children from well-heeled families are doing 2 years at Cuesta, Hancock, Pierce, LA Mission, wherever it is, and then transferring to Cal Poly, UCSB, Cal State Long Beach. And so this really is a viable alternative, and this really can be used, Shannon, please, to kind of set up the finances of a 4-year education.
I would say so. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I'm very looking forward to having her jump into Cuesta. I'm so glad that I can help bring this to her and all the future generations of the students. But one of the things is that universities themselves are being squeezed, and so they're letting fewer and fewer kids in. And so therefore, we're not just a viable alternative. Many times we are the alternative.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, absolutely.
Does Cal Poly play into this? Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for our viewers statewide? I mean, how did they...
Well, not exactly. Except that, we have, obviously, there are a lot of residents in San Luis County and families who want their children to go to Cal Poly.
So it's one of the finest Cal States.
With the impacted university, it's very difficult. We're the best option as far as a transfer is concerned. We feed Cal Poly the greatest number of transfer students of any of the other community colleges, and we align so closely with their curriculum so that students who come to Cuesta have a better chance of having everything count, as opposed to trying to make it fit from another college. So we provide that opportunity. But I think the population that I'm excited about, that this promise will really help, those students who see economics as a barrier to them even trying. They may be perfectly capable intellectually and academically, but for whatever reason, whether they're first generation student, they're saying, college is out of the question because I can't afford it.
Congratulations. I'm very happy for all of you and for all the residents of San Luis Obispo County. I'm Brad Pomerance. When we come back, Barbara George, a trustee with Cuesta. We'll be right back on Charter California Edition.
What percentage of University of California graduates started at a California community college? 11%, 20%, 29%, or 42%?
Welcome back to Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Barbara George. She is a trustee with the Cuesta Community College District. And as we know, over the last few years, Cuesta faced an accreditation issue, but the good news is in February of 2013, Cuesta was informed that it was taken off of show cause, the most serious sanction, and put on warning, the least serious, and it appears that that issue is being resolved over the next few weeks and months. Am I right?
Yes, the college has really pulled together under the leadership of Deb Wolf, the Vice President for Academic Affairs, the faculty, the staff, the database, evidence-based work has been completed and the report filed, and soon the accreditation team will be here, and we expect good news.
Right, I would imagine. And in the midst of that, several awards have been given to Cuesta College. I mean, it just, the good news finally is rolling in.
Cuesta College has always been a college of awards and good news. It's been going through some trauma the last few years, and with the leadership of Gil Stork when he came in as president.
Right, we just spoke with Gil, so yes.
And the change in some of the leadership at Cuesta College and the pulling together of the faculty and staff to satisfy all the standards has been exemplary, exceptional.
In the background, the sad news is that one of Cuesta's sister districts, San Francisco City College, is in the midst of a crisis. Yes. They are facing closure. The accrediting committee has ordered them to close come July 2014.
That's correct.
We know that lawsuits have been filed. Now, I know you're not a member of that district, but kind of, looking above, what's happening?
Well, there are 85,000 students there waiting to hear how this is going to play out. And yes, San Francisco City College did file an appeal, and the Chancellor's Office, the Board of Governors, the Academic Senate are all working with San Francisco City College. They have a new chancellor. They were asked to rewrite their closure report now at the same time that they're filing their appeal.
What's most remarkable about this predicament is San Francisco City College, that district is the largest community college district in the country.
Yes.
And you said it, 85,000 students.
Right.
If this campus, if these campuses are forced to close, the impact will be dramatic. If Cuesta closed, God forbid it's not going to happen, of course, maybe Hancock could pick some up, Monterey could pick some up. San Francisco City, right. I mean, where do 85,000 students go?
That's the thing. Now, when you said it's the largest two-year college, in the country, you bear in mind that California community colleges are the largest system of higher education in the world.
You're right.
And 75% of all students in higher education in the state of California are in a California community college. We are needed and wanted and used. And we are successful, and San Francisco City College must be successful. It will be difficult to fill that void and spread that out.
Cuesta College, that's an example of an institution that interacted with the accrediting board in a way that was respectful, that was looking to make improvements. As I understand it, with San Francisco, I mean, they were just cantankerous.
They have been. Well, of course, not everyone, but yes, there are some there are some views there that the system wasn't handled appropriately for them.
Right.
And as Dr. Stork has said, these are our regulations. They ultimately come from the U.S. Department of Education.
It's that simple.
And so that's what we respond to.
Right.
And that's our obligation.
When we come back, I want to speak more about the community colleges and what a difference a year makes. We're speaking with Barbara George. For our viewers on HLN, thank you for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back on California Edition. So, Trustee George, I want to speak with you about what a difference a year makes. We think about our conversation, let's say 12 months ago, the state budget was in a shambles.
That's
we didn't
true.
know Prop 30 was going to pass.
That's true.
Prop 30 did pass. Now, it doesn't give new money to community colleges, but it does just change the face of the state budget. Tell us about what a difference a year makes.
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up, because you're right. I was here about a year ago. And budget and accreditation were the big issues.
Right.
And although budget will continue to be an issue, it's been an issue all of my life associated with Cuesta. I'd like to be there, when they have money. But the college has always been really creative about doing something with nothing.
Right.
And I know that gets exhausting and wearying, and it's been grueling work. I think everyone is feeling very positive and a chance to be more creative and innovative now that this year has passed.
Right.
And our enrollment is up a bit because we didn't have to cut back another 30 sections of classes and reduce the number of students that we can serve. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary, and I was thinking about that on the drive here. I was thinking, if you look at the last 10 years and say our average number of students was 9,000 per year, it's been 11, it's been 8. There's 90,000 students there. Tens and tens and tens of thousands of people have taken advantage of that wonderful community resource over the course of the last 50 years. And I think it's something to celebrate.
I love your passion, and I think that the district is very lucky to have you. And clearly Cuesta is celebrating because it did get through that difficult year. You talk about what a crown jewel Cuesta is and what community colleges can be. I'm not sure if you read this, and if you haven't, forgive me for putting you on the spot, but there are discussions about allowing California community colleges to offer 4-year degrees. Have you heard that?
Well, Cuesta College has always been involved in programs that offer degrees, and sometimes they take 2 or even 3 years.
But bachelor-type degrees.
Yes, there is some conversation about that, and I'm not prepared to discuss it relative to Cuesta College.
Right. Well, what about just not Cuesta per se, but the notion that community colleges are such they're such a resource. Is it something that we should look toward?
Well, it's the whole issue. There was a lot of discussion about 2 months ago in the newspaper about the cost of higher education.
Right.
And it is something that I'm very passionate about. Now, but we need to look at the master plan for UC and CSU. So I don't think community colleges are just going to walk into 4-year degrees.
No,
This is going to be part of a master plan for higher education, which is being looked at right now. It was the first Governor Brown that was part of the creation of the master plan for higher education and the role of UC, CSU, and community colleges.
At the same time, you mentioned funding and the challenges that all districts face when you're dealing with funding, and Cuesta is now looking to develop a bond.
Yes.
It would turn to the voters seeking permission to tax themselves.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it's more important what the voters think, and right now the college and the trustees have engaged council to test the waters in San Luis Obispo County to see if the community is willing to support a bond measure. We have 40-year-old buildings on the new campus, which everyone persists in calling the new campus because the Camp San Luis and the old barracks, but those are 40-year-old buildings. And then on the North County campus, we rely heavily on the temporary buildings or modular buildings. And those are out of compliance, or will be out of compliance with the State Department of Architecture. So those are crucial issues. And California community colleges have all passed bond measures except for Cuesta College.
It's never had a bond.
Well, we had a bond when the new campus was created
40 years ago.
Yes.
Right.
So no, we haven't passed a bond since the the ability to pass at 55%.
Right.
So, but it's up to the voters. So we need to see how they're feeling, and I think.
So it is a 55% bond, by the way. It'd be for the construction projects.
Well, it would be for the. Well, what it's going to be for has not been determined.
No, that's fair.
And that's another piece that's being tested in the community. What if the community understands what the needs are at the college in order to better serve our students, and to be compliant with the Student Success Act of 2012, to be able to support our students adequately in our community and our training for the workforce and career technical education.
I just have to say, and forgive me, but the dedication with which you speak about Cuesta College is heartening, and the college is lucky to have you. Her name is Barbara George. She is a trustee with the Cuesta Community College District. I'm Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back on Charter California Edition.
Okay.
What percentage of California State University graduates started at a California community college? 25%, 36%, 42%, or 51%? 51% of California State University graduates started at a California community college.
Welcome back. It's Charter California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. She is back. She is Lisa Ray. She is the CEO and founder of the Children's Resource Network of the Central Coast. She brings a new friend. His name is Blair Jones. He is in corporate affairs with PG&E. Before we talk about why you brought Mr. Jones, I want to hear more about the Children's Resource Network for our viewers who are just becoming familiar with your very valiant organization. Tell us about it.
Well, thank you, Brad. The
Please.
Children's Resource Network of the Central Coast is a charitable nonprofit organization that provides free humanitarian aid to children on the Central Coast. We provide
And, right, please.
free clothing, backpacks, school supplies, blankets, toiletries, Halloween costumes, and Christmas presents.
Right, and I knew you when I've said it before. You contacted me just when the nonprofit was getting started. We're so proud of what you've done in San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County. You become friends with PG&E. We'll talk about how they have supported your efforts in a moment. PG&E, basically, for our viewers who may not be customers.
Sure. PG&E stands for Pacific Gas and Electric Company. So we're a company with about 21,000 employees, and our focus is on delivering safe and affordable and clean energy to our customers throughout Northern and Central California.
And here in San Luis Obispo, of course, PG&E operates Diablo Canyon, which is now the only operational nuclear facility in the state, but we won't talk about that, but a major economic driver in San Luis Obispo County. And so it's apropos to hear that PG&E has been a big supporter of the Children's Resource Network. Maybe a year ago, I believe, PG&E gave a significant donation. Why don't you talk about that first donation before we talk about the recent one?
Sure, absolutely. So, and just to roll back,
Please.
One of our focuses at PG&E is that we believe in strong, healthy, vibrant communities, and we believe in giving back to the communities that we live in and serve. So we look for organizations that are doing good in their community, that are making a difference. And we came across Lisa's organization, and Children's Resource Network is making a big difference. It's providing clothing and school supplies to children and teens in need, so they can focus on a very important thing in their life, and that is getting an education.
Exactly.
And that, getting an education, that's important for all of us.
No
That's
doubt.
our future.
And so last year, PG&E provided a $25,000 donation, which was incredibly generous, very targeted, very specific. What was that donation used for?
So we got with Lisa and we figured out, okay, how can we best support the Children's Resource Network in your organization? And Lisa, I think, would tell you is, she can bring in all the donations and the clothing and school supplies that she could bring in all the school supplies that she could possibly imagine. But if you don't have an ability to get it from point A to point B, it doesn't make much of a difference in the community. So we realized that a $25,000 donation to help purchase a vehicle, a truck, as well as help with the purchase and outfitting of a trailer to house all the donations, that would help Lisa get the products from point A to point B
and
to these children.
And that trailer is known as Teen Closet, is that right?
No, that's a traveling children's closet.
There's so many different permutations of the Children's Resource Network. There's a Teen Closet, which I guess is at the site of a senior citizens home.
Yes, it's at the Aurora Grande Care Center,
it's
run
very
by the senior
complicated.
residents.
But
yes.
the great news is, and we're just going to tell our viewers what happened recently, and then we'll talk about it more when we come back. PG&E has given yet another donation.
That's right. So Lisa has been very successful with the Children's Resource Network. The initial donation helped reach out about 5,000 children.
Absolutely.
So this new donation of $25,000 for this year is going to help her continue that work.
And let's talk more about that when we come back. I can only imagine the excitement you must have felt when you knew you could help more children. For our viewers on HLN, we thank you so much for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back on Charter California Edition. So Lisa Ray, give us a sense of how you must have felt when you realized, when you were informed that PG&E was offering yet another $25,000 donation.
We were ecstatic because in order to be able to provide resources for the children on the Central Coast, we need to have operating costs covered.
Right.
And no matter how much ferocious volunteer support we receive,
Right. And you have ferocious volunteer support.
Yes, we do, but
Charter
it's very
amongst
important.
that.
And we're thrilled to have the continuous support. We received notice from Chris Johns, the president of PG&E, that they would like to continue to support our program. And so now we'll be able to help, hopefully, 6,000 children this year. That's our goal.
Why? A lot of great nonprofits out there.
Well,
Why?
There are a lot of great nonprofits, and we endeavor to work with many of them that are actually doing good and giving back to the community. You know, again, we started working with Lisa last year when looking at the type of impact that her organization is having in the community. We decided that it's in our interest, it's in the interest of our community,
right,
to continue to support her organization and the good they're doing.
Tell us what you've seen.
Well, I think the numbers speak for themselves. Lisa's organization was able to reach out to almost 5,000 children last year, again with clothing and school supplies, so they can focus on their education, which is important. And those are impactful numbers. And so, supporting her organization again to keep that momentum going, that's an easy decision.
Tell us what you see every day on a daily basis in the eyes of the children that are benefiting from your hard work and that will continue to benefit as a result of this very kind altruistic donation.
Yeah, you know, we have children that are standing in line with literally no shoes on their feet. There was a little boy who was standing in line at school with his pillow because he was homeless, and he had to bring his pillow to school with him, and he had a hole this big in the toe of his shoes, and his legs were covered with bed bug bites from living in the shelter. So those are the types of children that we're helping on the Central Coast.
So interesting, because we think about the Central Coast, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, I mean, the most beautiful counties, the most well-heeled counties. Real estate is expensive, you know. Everyone's doing well. Happiest city, in North America, according to Oprah Winfrey. But yet, there are these pockets of pain, and that's where you come in.
You know, little girls would be standing in line with old dirty baby blankets as shawls to keep them warm, waiting for a sweater from the trailer. So, you know, really our program is in great demand, and we are so thankful to have the opportunity and the support from PG&E so we can help all the children on the Central Coast. And they're in isolated areas as well.
Right. Now, we know that thanks to PG&E, the Children's Resource Network will continue to operate very nicely. Thank you very much. But you talked about ferocious volunteers, and I want to hear more about how we can become a ferocious volunteer. I love that expression, if I may say. What can we do? Our donations, of course, please feel free. You know, Charter has donated as an example, but what can?
Thank you so much for your
support. Of
support.
What can we do? What can
bringing awareness to the community that there are children in need, and letting the kids know that when they outgrow their clothes, they can hand them over to a child in need, and it empowers young children to know that they can make a difference and contribute into the community. That is one area. We always are needing packages, brand new packages of socks and underwear, and I can thank PG&E employees as well actually hosted a drive for us, and we're able to help hundreds of children with packages of the socks and the underwear. Just volunteer support, sorting and organizing the donations that are coming in.
And I have to say, I remember a couple of years ago you brought in a picture of a fairly well-known resident of San Luis Obispo County. He's done quite well. He's a young actor. Talk to us about that, because I do think that says a lot, that this young man who grew up in this area had heard about your work and decided to give back. Who are we talking about?
You would be talking about Zac Efron.
Of
and
Disney Channel fame, and now he's grown up and he's doing very well. Tell us about what Zac Efron did.
Zac Efron donated hundreds of items of clothing from his own personal closet for children, and for the teens, for our teens closet in Rio Grande. And what was really,
which is actually his hometown.
Which is his hometown. And what was very special about that is children who are in need, they often don't get the higher brands.
Right,
and they were so excited. Well, it was something only they could have. You know, many fans contacted us and said, can I purchase the items? I said, no, these are specially for children that are in need. And they're able to go in and have something just for them.
What does it mean to you, Blair, that you're able to help out?
Well, it feels good. I think I think all of PG&E, we have a established charitable program in place to give back to the communities we live in and work, and to support an organization that's doing so much good in the community. It feels
I can only
good.
imagine. I want to thank you so much for being on our program and for helping the Children's Resource Network. She is Lisa Ray. He is Blair Jones. I'm Brad Pomerance. Thanks for watching Charter California Edition.